Welcome on to another video, and today we are doing a 50 subscriber special because we broke that milestone just today, and I'm so happy we did. Thank you all for subscribing. It's such an honor for me to be someone who you like and support, and it's just something that I very much not ready to do much about. But in this video we're gonna do some exploration, some other things. Since it's a special, we're gonna have like an hour of it, so I have much more time to do my own stuff. I have much more time to do other stuff. And if anyone who's not a subscriber yet sees this video, please hit that subscribe button so you would keep us going above the 50 subscriber milestone. But yeah, let's do it. Thank you guys for supporting us, for supporting my channel. But let's get over here. Since I added this area, I don't think anyone has asked me about it, since I get so little comments. Also, it would be cool if you guys commented. But yeah, we're going to check some other stuff that's going to happen around here, and that's this nation starting to do the first expansions. That around these areas, it's kind of hard to live because there are coyotes, wolves, and sometimes even some bald eagles who come at you and try to kill you. We will see that the Aztecs or something, I don't know where the Aztec Empire was, or the Aztec. Anyways, we're going to see that in and around these regions, we're gonna have some very cool things happening. Partially being that these areas are going to have a lot going for them, with this guy just expanding massively down south and a bit over here, while the Yucatan nation, or the Yucatan Empire as this is going to be called now, is going to expand very largely. They want very much of a large nation. They even had a bit of people over here that kind of came to help them. What's this? Yeah, might have been. But eventually, after that, they started to focus more on their people and not expansion. But around this point, they stopped expanding. For our good old friends, the I don't know what to call them. Kinda hard to find a name for them at this point. Do I call them the Aztecs? The Aztecs were in this area, right? I'm gonna need to check that up. Hold up. Are the Aztecs in Mexico? Oh yeah, so I have the right place. Yep, definitely have it all right. All right, so these are the Aztecs, so we can now cross that off the table. But yeah, the Aztecs will take over most of this and will eventually meet the Yucatan Empire's forces on the borders of theirs. This nation here is going to kind of start a fight with the Aztecs. Although the Aztecs are stronger than them, they will still be a bit of a hard fight for the Aztecs, as they have kind of a home field advantage and they just burn everything that they cannot get themselves, kind of like Russia does. They just destroy everything. And eventually this empire is going to collapse. Some of its areas are still going to be annexed, that kind of collapse with the empire, but eventually this is what the pre-war thing looks like. People from that empire managed to escape down south, where they form a new empire around here, from which they will not do much, but they will start to explore more of El Salvador, and eventually they will take most of it over. And we see that the First Nation of El Salvador comes along, and they are very strong for their region. While in the other areas near them, we see that this guy has become very powerful, and they have almost met up with the El Salvadorians, and they have also done a few expansions into Belize, because why not? Belize is a good place to live. Very good, I'm not gonna lie. I'm lying because I don't know how the life over there is. Also because of the fruit flies, definitely because of those. But eventually, most of these nations that are over here start to have some sort of beef against each other. El Salvador doesn't have beef towards its northern neighbor, but this red neighbor it has a lot of beef towards. Partially because the red neighbor is being very cocky about who gets to own this particular piece of land, which also goes up into their things, and they're like, yo, leave this area or we're gonna invade you, blah 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 blah, and they have never invaded them. And the El Salvadorians know that, but they are not gonna try and be like the paper tiger's victim at this point, and they're going to expand a bit, and then they're gonna expand even more. And would you look at that, they have just got a news that this guy has sent raiding parties to take over the radius over here, and now they're going to go into El Salvador and demand that these areas that they wanted be given over. And quickly we see that it's just gonna become a very, very bad fight for those who started the fight. We see that these raiding parties were not equipped enough with very good equipment, but the army over here decided to just go into these areas. They mobilized around a few hundred men to help them in this endeavor. And at this point, there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of men on the fields, trying to like out-attack each other. But here's the thing: the El Salvadorians have a bit of a plan up their sleeve. They're gonna feign that they can't really push anymore, while they're going to use the sides over here to sidestep their entire enemy's defensive plan and just go after their entire heartland. And that's what they do. They just go, and once they reach the heartland, they just burn anything and everything they can. Although the monsoons that arrive are going to be very hard to stop, they do just destroy a lot of it. And once the homeland is attacked and most of it is burned down, basically the heartland is burned down, and the armies just push into whatever areas they can, this nation is like, yo, we are going to just peace out because we're not gonna live like this anymore. And that's what they do. They don't live like that anymore. They don't like it. They don't like it. But once the war is done, we see both sides carve up these regions for themselves. This guy gets the areas it kinda took a bit ago, and then it takes even more, trying to at least cripple its enemy of the future and past. And El Salvador just takes whatever it can, and would you look at that, it took everything. It could take anything, and it did. The Great El Salvadorian Empire is going to actually leave behind actual marks of pottery and other things in this world, showing that they did exist. They were very advanced, and even some writing systems were found by later historians that are going to be thought that it meant that they had contact with either somebody in upper areas up here in those areas or not. Speaking of those areas, there's a group over here. Now, I won't say which group, but it's a very weird group that doesn't really record anything of the maps. It just knows stuff. And people won't know about this group, nor the opposite group of it that's in like the Carolinas. And that's people people that make their own nation. Now, they won't make their own nation per se. They will actually kind of set up the illusion of a nation, but it's not a true nation. There's chieftains, there's greater chieftains, and then there's the warrior chieftains, who are basically the wartime leaders. So there's a lot going on around here, and eventually these people just take over some parts of the territories over here. Some are more inland, like this group, and another group that's right next to it, that being a group over here. As you can see, they are very expansive. Some of them are even larger than the others, and well, larger than anyone else. And we even see that in Delaware's region there is a small group of people who actually take over a pretty sizable chunk of land. They don't take over much of anything else except for this, and that's all they do. There's also the thing that over here in Baja California, there's a full-on empire over here. I won't say which, but Californians revere me as the one who made you an actual empire this time. In my last thing, you probably weren't even made into an empire. Better yet, you weren't even existing in my last Vixer, so that's something. But I'm sorry if I kind of came off right now as a bit of arrogant and a bit of, like, you know, stupid. But the Californian Empire will start to push its boundaries and eventually reaches northern Baja California, where it shall cease to a halt and stop its expansion down south. While over here in the north, it just follows the damn coast. That's all it does. That you guys, I'm not kidding. All it does is follow the damn coast, and that's all they do. Nothing else is done except for following the goddamn rivers or, well, coasts, and just following as long as they can. And that's what they do. They follow as long as they can, and eventually they stop and they're like, okay, this is good enough. Then in Baja California and the Pacific Coast regions of Baja California, we see that some of these regions actually find themselves under control of the Californians, and the Californians leave behind very many marks, like primitive housings, mud brick houses, and all of that. Now, speaking of mud brick housings, welcome the Navajo. They're nothing like our words, Navajo, as they have the same few things that are like witches and all that created the world. But the thing is, some of these guys are like, yo, why not just go plunder the enemy? And their enemy is everyone else that isn't them, basically. Also, over here there's a Floridian Empire, but don't tell any Florida man that they're going to be too happy about it. The crocodiles are going to be so happy once they get to meet their brothers in arms, or brothers in sapien form. But these people are mostly sapiens, and a few of them are Neanderthal, although they are all the way up here in the north, where we do see that most of them are like around these regions. Nobody really records anything of their existence. No maps are found about them, or records are, well, left behind. But what is known is that these Neanderthal groups, these two Neanderthal groups, are the only ones over here that have at least some form of colonization done. There's also some people who went further down south and do the same as the Neanderthals and other American people. But at this point, they're very close to the one ship. Although the ship is camouflaged, they know that something is out there, and they don't know what it is, but they do think that it's something very important, maybe a god, maybe something else, so they don't know, but they do worship 5 gods, so they are pretty much in an okay spot. Their empire lasts pretty long. They have a pretty large and expanding empire. And most of the regions that they take over are pretty much very good for them. They take over a lot of good regions that have a lot of things for them to use. The Peru guys also have their own nations, but I'm just gonna say Peru isn't as strong as everything else due to the massive earthquakes that are now regular in this world, becoming very frequent. I'll just say that. People are going to start dying in massive amounts. Some people are going to have hard times living in these areas, while others are going to thrive, managing to live on in their own civilizations and their own families. Eventually one large group appears, although it's not strong enough to challenge too many groups. It does go after a few of the weaker groups that are north of it. One of these weaker groups is this Cyanic or greenish lime nation, and they quickly take it over, forcing the people over here to rethink who they're going to support in any case of war. And yeah, that's just something to do. We quickly see that these forces will this nation's forces will start to push down south massively, I mean. And that's just because they really much wanted to. Their empire really needed the territories because of their farming capabilities, and they eventually were able to farm a lot. Over here we finally see actual, and I mean actual damn exploration happening at this point. As news of exploration being very valuable and people are starting to appear from the north. These people are the Navajo. They don't really speak the same language, but some of them are even Californian, who eventually meet up with the guys over here. And once the Californians are like, yeah, we can bring you all the way to our homeland, we just need you to give us a bit of food so we can go all the way back there. We were thinking like we can get some food on the way here, but we weren't very much ready for that. And eventually the Aztecs will have to basically not do much except for accept knowing as little as they do about everything. Even though they do recognize that they could gain something from helping these guys, they don't help them. And oh, what the fuck, that's a bee. That's a large fucking bee. I just looked up, that's a fucking bee. Somebody help me. Oh my god, it's a bee. It's in my room. I'm sure of it and I don't like it. But at this point, people start to arrive in the Californian regions, and we quickly see that the Aztecs, who finally meet up with the Californians, are immediately given a shock of their lives once they realize that these guys span a long way, and some Aztecs travel the lands basically to meet everyone that's over here. And one guy even maps out what this empire looks like, and that's what they look like. They are spanning along these areas. Although the closer they get into California, California South region, from land I mean, or sea, it just gets more and more heavier in the chest to go over there. Like, nobody knows why it's so hard to go over here, but they think that down here is the land of the gods. They cannot go there, so they're going to only leave behind some offerings. If an offering is not going to be like accepted by anything, they're in bad and dire straits. Eventually, the Aztecs continue their explorations over here, although they also start to expand a bit. Eventually meeting up with the Navajos, who quickly give them knowledge of these regions, and we quickly get to know that they only know a few of these people themselves, and one of them they don't even know about, and that's the yellow guy over there. And that's because they don't know about much of anything else. They're not the type to record information. Eventually, news reaches these guys who have just met up with the few guys over here. They're like, yo! Who are you? And that's all they do. While they do that, we see that some very weird things happen as people start to forget about what regions there were over here. And the Navajos are going to lose sight of the lands that they would have gotten into, gone to do their exploration of that. And they just go all the way up north, and they're like, yo, there's no one here, maybe they just fell apart. And that's something that may have happened. But that didn't happen. They just don't follow the same routes. Eventually, the Aztecs are like, yo, we're going back home. We can't just do much of this. And at some point in the American history, it is very much thought that the El Salvador Empire and the Empire of El Salvador went over to Costa Rica and over here to these regions to explore, and they just met up with anyone who was over here. But in reality, they didn't meet anyone. In fact, everyone who was over here, they weren't even around this bit. They were around these areas. Well, below these areas. No one went up here because it was basically leopard territory. And that means that this entire region over here is leopard territory. So, yeah, but what do the El Salvadorians care about? Expansion. That's all they care about. So, they start their expansion by going towards the coasts. Okay, the coasts give us a lot of regions to work with. Let's go even more down south. Okay, that's a lot of land. Let's go even more. Eventually they reach all the way over here where, well, Colombia's border with Panama would be. And once they reach leopard territory, many of them die. Not because of leopards. Because of disease. Leopards take half of them. Half of them. Once they are diseased. And some of the leopards die. But most of them know that if you go after humans, they're easy place, just go after them. And some of the cubs who grow up from that are going to teach their cubs about humans. And that's just kind of causes a lot of things to happen. Over the course of time, we see that some of these Yucatan people will do some other stuff. And basically, the Aztecs will also do a lot of expansion. At this point, they have become so strong that they are able to hold their own against any other nation that they think they are a bit weaker than. At some point, they were a bit more weaker than some other people, but at this point in time, they're unable to expand anymore, partially because of their just large population trying to just hold up the already massive regions that they have under their control. So any more expansion is forbidden by the king, not the king, but the emperor of the Aztecs. I don't know what the title's name was, but it was the king of all Aztecs that ordered that. I won't name him because he has no name. Names in this era were only given to those who were recognized by the gods, and that's basically what you can see is the Aztec mythology. That if you were born of a god's son, you are entitled to a name, and if you're not given one, then the gods will give you a name. On your birthday, they will send a message, and if the message reaches you, you are given a name. If it doesn't, then you are not. And this king didn't get a name, but eventually he did recognize that he actually might have had a name. He just doesn't remember it. And once he asks his father and mother about it, he finds out his name is Korka. In this time, it means the conqueror, because during the time he was born, the Aztecs were having a bit of a revolt in their southern regions, and they were like, yo, please stop. And a conqueror came through, and he just mopped the floor with the rebels. Also, the El Salvadorians, at some point, they turned on their ally. Nobody knows when. What is known is that there was a war that happened. It's just that nobody knows what exactly happened, as nobody has any recollection of it. There's no general things that support this, but wooden gloves that were that had some other things with them showed that a lot of bludgeoning tools were used in this war, and eventually these people just disappeared. Nobody knows when they disappeared, they just know that they did. Eventually these guys would start to do a bit of a charge towards these areas. The winner of this charge was the El Salvadorians, who kind of took over a lot of regions over here. These guys took some, and the Aztecs took a bit more. Eventually, the El Salvadorians were like, yo, I'm just gonna focus on myself for now. And the El Salvadorians did the same. But the Yucatans, oh, they couldn't sit by, they needed some bloodshed. And what better place to do some bloodshed than the homeland that you were probably promised in your childhood. That being Cuba. And they build some weird looking ships, I'm just gonna say. They build weird looking ships and they land over here. Nobody has seen ships before, but their best minds just kind of worked out how the ships should look like and what they need to stay balanced in the waters. And eventually the idea of a large ship didn't come by them. They only make small ships. And once this guy fell, they just took it all over and were like, yo, let's just go all the way over here. And that's what they did. They went all the way over here, found a bit of nothing, then went over here, found a bit of nothing, and oh, the Floridians, what have you been up to? Oh, you have oh god, you have been domesticating crocodiles, huh? By using human bodies as food. Yeah, that's what these guys are doing. Freudian Man Part 2. At some point, this nation joined into the Floridian Empire, kind of making a weird border. Ask who you want, it's weird. And basically, a lot of people are unaware that at some point in the future, these nations over here will discover them, and that's something that will happen. But nobody knows that the nations over here that will discover them are at the same point in naval level, if not lower than these guys are, because due to the Yucatans having such a large fleet that they can build, they know how to build fleets, and their people are employed to make fleets for other nations, and eventually hundreds, if not thousands of ships are created, and thousands, if not hundreds, tens of thousands of people will man those ships, giving everyone over here a naval superiority over anyone else that currently has a good amount of ships. Although quality kind of beats quantity sometimes, quality doesn't beat everything. Not even quantity, because just telling you, the Navajos have enough ships to fuck up everyone in the South or Central America. And wait, what was it? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys. I was thinking of doing a few other things for the today, and that was the Asian explorations begin. Now, what are the Asian explorations in full? They aren't a full period, but they are known as that because a generally unknown person from Myanmar or Burma, the Burmese Empire, decided to go over here, and we quickly see that he found an island and was like, pretty cool. He found another larger island, and he was like, yo, this is a bit cool. He eventually sailed all the way over here, and was like, yo, I'm just gonna sail everything over here. He found there was nothing over here, but then he went, I haven't looked down south. And he went down south. He almost met, he did see the damn shores, but he couldn't land because of the damn weather. So he was like, yo, I'm gonna come back at some point, but I'm gonna go at another point. And that's what he did. He just came at this whole thing at a different angle. And here's what he kind of found. He found all of this, and he was known as the explorer for a while, until he became the conqueror, because he sent some people to war against the Malaysians, or not the Malaysians, but the Bangkok people. The Bangkoks were not victorious, but they weren't able to stop the taking of their territories, and some amounts of territory were just yoinked from them. They were like taken away as a peace negotiation deal. Basically, a peace deal was drawn up, and this is the peace deal. And surprise, surprise, down in the south, these guys have no. The Bangkoks have no land down south anymore, which was kind of the lifeline. To be honest, they relied on this for their economic gains. Now they don't have it, and they're in a bad spot. Guess who went to war again? These guys. These guys pushed a lot over here, destroying a lot of the settlements that were on the coasts over here, and then they focused over here, and eventually they just started to steamlord the mainland, and they were like, yo, if you allow us to make a few ports and take a bit of your lands over, we will leave you alone. And they agreed to it, not knowing that most of the north would just go over. And I mean, most of the north, because all of it was taken. They don't have a north mostly. Their new lands are very little, but as you can see, this empire is very expansive. At some point, the Bangkoks and these guys went to war again. This time, there was a large, and I mean a large amount of fighting for territory, and eventually the Vietnamese won. And in that peace treaty, the Bangkoks needed to give over a lot of territory towards the guy who kinda helped the Vietnamese. And eventually the Vietnamese were like, yo, how about you just take everything else that's over here? And then we see that the Siamese Empire would fall, and the Burmese Empire would live on. But it's just a bit weird for the people over here who kinda saw this happen. And at this point, this empire is as large. Wait, how large is it? Casually going to look. Alright, without its islands and everything else that is overseas, it is 38,576 pixels. Just shy of half of South China's numbers. But they're definitely bigger than that. But are they bigger than... No, they are even closer. But what if I do... It's not a big change. They just kind of took a lot of new area, and that's all they have. These guys, though, I'm just gonna say these guys don't really have it good because they are now under 10k, and if you're under 10k, then you're not really a nation over here to fight against. These guys aren't that strong. These guys are a lot stronger, a lot larger. Okay, this is already bordering on an empire. Huh? Uh-huh? Huh? 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 Uh-huh? What? What the fuck? Wait. No, if these two united, they would be the largest nation over here. I'm not kidding. They would be like the largest. This guy also bordering on being an empire. This guy is more on the border. Basically that's all they have over here. These guys, alright, they're already an empire. They're entirely an empire. Everything over here is an empire, basically. You, like, single-handedly be one of the largest nations. With that, these two would have been some of the biggest nations around. Now, yo, that's 92k. Oh my god, this guy is larger than this guy. They almost don't look like it, but if you gave this guy its old territories back, I'm gonna tell you, that's more than a million, like 100,000 pixels. And if you have more than 100,000 pixels, I'm gonna tell you, you're a nation worth a lot. But the Asian exploration will continue. I don't know how much time I have left with this. I have like half an hour. Enough time to do all the things I want. So, don't tell me my life is over. What? Would you look at that? Basically, the coasts were eventually, not all of it, not all of it, not all of it, not all of it, because I wanted it. They will eventually find that these areas are very easy to take over, and basically the Bangladesh people are going to help the Burmese in exploring because they have a good navy. Eventually, these islands over here are discovered while people are like, yo, let's just go over here. They find 2 islands and then they find all of this. And Sumatra at this point is very easy to be like around. Until these guys, the Sun Sumatran Kingdom finds out about these islands and they're like, yeah, all of this over here, ocean, we're sure of it. So don't go over here. And people are like, alright, we won't go over there. And they actually listen and don't go over there. Not realizing that the southern Sumatrans actually had an idea of what to do over here. And eventually, they just found out about all of this. They just went in and explored. Which is a pretty big thing to say, but yeah. Also, these guys finally knew about this guy. Same over here. And, basically, a lot of... how do I call this? What do I call this main large island of India? Indonesia, not Indo-fucker. Main island of Indonesia. Sulawesi. So it's Sulawesi, and I might butcher the name a bit, but the Sulawesians are going to actually appear at this point in time. A lot of the Asians actually record these people as being very nice, very humble. But if you fucked up around them and kind of started to kill some other people, they would kill you. No hesitation. They would pick up their hatchet, find your head being a very good thing to split open, and would split it open. I'm paraphrasing here. They would kill you. That's all I'm gonna say. These guys are nothing to be trifled with, and I'm just gonna tell you guys it's not a good idea to fight against them. Also, eventually these main areas were just forgotten about, and the scriptures were lost to a fire about these central regions. So people were like, "Yo, how about we just don't go over there anymore?" Huh? And that's what they do. They don't go over there anymore. The Somatrans are like, okay, we're gonna just go around here. That's what they do. The Filipinos, in the meantime, find out about more islands. More islands that they're not like going like directly in one point. They actually are like sending 2 fleets out to find things over here. One fleet is finding islands, the other fleet is also finding islands. Although this fleet took a very wild goose chase to kind of get over here. So it was very, very funny, very, very cool. But eventually, they managed to get over here, and that's basically the gist of everything. And with the Filipinos actually starting to reach a lot of territories over here, they're like, yo, why not just inhabit all of this and not tell anyone? Imagine what somebody else told you, and that's what they start to do slowly, but eventually people find out what they're trying to do, and everyone is like, yo, bro, this should be also ours, just don't just leave this area, we won't inhabit this, we promise. And then everyone tries to go over there and they get fucked by storms. It's nobody knows why Mother Nature just turned on these people, but probably because Mother Nature was on the damn Filipino side, and eventually the Filipinos actually managed to do some stuff. They started to find out about these areas being very, very vast. They eventually found out about parts of Papua New Guinea, and eventually nobody really goes to Papua New Guinea. They just took these areas as granted. Eventually, people also started to explore the main island a bit more. Started to explore Sulawesi a bit more, and basically, most of these regions just started to be just discovered slowly. Although the South Chinese wouldn't go over here, they would try and set up some other things. But at this point they would be in a bit of strife as succession crises and other things kind of cause a little problem. So I'm gonna have a lot of time, very fun time, trying to fix a lot of this over here. Also, the Burmese got a bit of these two islands that these guys really wanted to take over. But eventually, the Burmese landed, and they set up a colony that they call New Burma. That's basically its English term name. Its actual name would be very difficult to pronounce, nor will I pronounce it because I'm not a fucking Asian person. But eventually the New Burmese puppet over here, not puppet but the colony, becomes pretty large and self-sustaining, and these guys are like, maybe we should kind of just do a bit of breakaway stuff. Surprisingly, the Burmese, surprisingly, the Burmese are like, okay, we are just gonna stop all expansions over here, partially because we don't really want to expand anymore. Also, fuck you. Those who want to like escape our divine rule over these territories will be punished. That's what they kind of say. I'm paraphrasing here again, but nobody really takes everyone else seriously. Also, the Filipinos start a bit of a race. These two Filipinos start a bit of a race for Sulawesi. One manages to take the northern parts of Sulawesi very fast, while the other takes most of the bay regions over here. And they're like, yo, why not just create a proper border between each other and just stop all race things? And they're like going to actually do this. They actually form a border between each other. Although it's kind of a weird border, they still do it. And it's going to be very, very weird. Because people eventually are like, yo, why not just push this a bit further? Give you a lot of these regions. We can just expand later. And that's what we are doing right now. So, yeah, you can take those areas. And eventually, Sulawesi becomes kind of a breeding ground for new nations. New nations actually try to pop up over here. Although it's hard to do, they are still able to pop up. Although only one nation in the south is able to pop up due to its small and very bad location on the south side. Because, yes, they kind of have a bit of a good thing, but between them and this guy, there's hard to say things because they can't really go there. Nobody really has the technology to set up colonies, and once they actually start to set up one, it's just kind of broke away from them and was like eventually going to do a lot of stuff by itself. And we do see that the Filipinos actually did a lot of explorations. They started to actually like explorations. They started to like the exploration thing, that they could go anywhere, find out about these new cool regions to take over. And once they just took them over, they were like, this is okay, we're just gonna go somewhere else. And eventually they would encounter a weird group of people on an island that they had discovered. That being, well, not only one island that they had discovered, but two islands that they had discovered. Mainly being this island and this island. These two groups of people are very different from them. They have white skin, which are like very uncommon in these regions, and they say that they come all the way from Aussie. Aussie means Australia, and well, not Australia. It means the land of the blue, or the blue sky. And everywhere is a blue sky, but that also translates from one guy's interpretation to another guy's language as the land of the red sky. They're from fucking Western Australia. Nobody knows where they're exactly from, but we can kinda make the Aboriginals an actual thing. Nobody knows where they came from, but I can tell you that one island that had that how do I say this? Very, very ship-like thing in the middle of it, and the things between the Sumatran ship over here that kind of left. Yeah, those people are from there, and they're actually they're actually not Australians, but they're another people who speak a weird language, and people like you. So, where are you exactly from? And tales eventually arise of people who start to migrate over to other regions, trying to find out how to live in another part of the world. And eventually ships of weird origin were discovered, and they were built over and over again to see how they worked. And eventually the principles behind them were kinda found out, these people eventually started to use these boats to go get around and stuff. Eventually, they also managed to land over here on this island, archipelago. Although they landed over here, they started to move up and up and up until they reached those areas, and that's how they reached these regions. And people are like, could you bring us to these areas and those ships that you have? And they're like, no. Partially because we don't have them, we burned them down. Because once we land, we don't really want to keep them around for anything to steal, or anyone to steal, so yeah. And everyone is baffled by these people just being so nonchalant about losing the only thing that can bring you home, but being able to build it again is just very weird for everyone over here. Nobody knows where these people actually came from. They just know that there's a large piece of land down south. They don't really want to go there because of the stories that the Aboriginals told them. And basically, the main story was a man was trying to pee, and then a weird animal came into his porta potty or something like that, outhouse actually, and bit him in the ass, and he died. That's you don't know how weird it is to learn that somebody died from an ass bite. But that's because people in this world haven't met the one very weird species of people who are here, and that is I won't tell their name, but there are very weird people who they forgot to check up on, because they once arrived to these islands, yes, but they did not take these because there was already a people there. These people didn't speak the same language as these guys, but a bit of a different dialect and a different type of speaking way. And people are like, no, there's a group up north that kind of speaks kind of like you. Do you know anything about them? And they're like, you mean the Norman people? The ones who always come here to us to trade. I mean the Norman people. And they're like, no, we are the Norman people. Those guys are the Sulka. And these Aboriginals are like, who the hell are the Sulka? We mean those guys up north. You are the Minkan. Those guys up north are not us. Never have been. We have just met them throughout time. And turns out there's more than just one of them. Over the Pacific Island ranges, there are a weird group of people who have an entire fucking nation around them. And I'm just gonna tell you guys, shit doesn't hit the fan just yet. Shortly because, partly because of we don't really have any shit to throw at the fan. But most of the time that we have been spending over there in other places, we haven't been looking at these guys. These guys over here who have at this point done a lot at this area, kind of. I don't know what to do about this. But eventually, the Flower Rebellion replaces the Li Jingji dynasty, and yeah, that's just something that happens. Over here, the Kyushans actually managed to convince these two into joining them, further making their nation a little bit larger. But this guy at this point has started to unite Japan into one. He calls the nation that he has made Great Nihon. And he quickly takes over most of the northern regions. Taking them over is one thing, but getting them into control is another. And he managed to get them into control. Around this time, the first Korean War happens, and battles start to go over here and there. Quickly, these areas over here are fought over, and eventually this island is taken. Landing on the mainland of Korea, the Island Dynasty has started, although it is very weak and unable to hold on to much. It is able to hold on to that one area over there, and eventually they managed a pushback against the Ailongs that were having a bit of a field day, having a bit of stuff done. And eventually the Ailongs would have to be forced to give up on their attempts at defense, now having to give over significant parts of its eastern lands. And the people who see this are very unhappy that their nation just gave them over to another nation, so they're going to join this other nation and be like, yo, we're going to only help you if you help us. And they're like, meh, cool, and they don't help them, and so they just give up on them and create a new dynasty. Kinda weird. Why not just treat them better? The Ailongs are like, yo, can you just join us? We're going to treat you a lot better. And they're like, you know what, fuck you. And eventually the Ailongs go into another war, which also again cripples their entire military, their entire naval force. And eventually the long-standing Ailong dynasty that has lived for hundreds, if not thousands of years, had hundreds, if not tens of, like, a few hundred leaders through its time. Not a few hundred leaders, but a few hundred, not, I'm saying few hundred, it's not few hundred, it's a few dozen leaders. And eventually, once the Ailong capital falls, the royal family is found, they are brought to a very weird point and they are killed. And around this time, a bit of some sort of civil war starts in Osaka. Shikoku, as forces of Shikoku started to kind of rebel against their own leaders. And eventually they were like, yo, we want a new nation, we want our own Shikoku nation. And these guys eventually managed to get a bit of the areas under control, but they couldn't get everything under control. And this would be known as the Shikoku revolt, and it would actually grant Nihon the time to actually purchase some land from the Kyushins. They would take these territories over, and the people in them would be very happy, because at this point they weren't like very happy towards these guys taking them over. Eventually they did assimilate into the Kyushins, but they never did fully commit. And then once the Shikoku revolt was put down, another revolt, this time in actually Osaka, started a full-on defensive attack against the Shikokuns. Basically, the Osakans knew that they were going to be attacked, they just didn't know from where, so they wanted to kind of start a quick front over here. Once Shikoku saw this, they were like, fuck this, I'm out, and eventually just joined the Osakan revolt. This revolt would be known as the Great Osakan Revolution, and it would be great because many people would join its side and try to save whatever nation they were trying to build. And they were actually winning in some parts, but once the Shikokuns actually were invaded and these guys came to aid them, the Shikokuns were like, you're actually helping us? They were like, yes. Cool, we're not gonna help you anymore. Possibly because we are not able to fight anymore. People are dying. And from this, what is known as the Great Unification of Nihon starts, as the old Hon areas that were under the Hon dynasty, not Hon dynasty, but the Hon shogunate, have now met their match, as Nihon quickly manages to do a lot of its own things over here. It manages to take over all of this, and eventually the Osakan revolt decides to join the Nihons as a kind of part state. Around this time, these guys had they made it the Shokokans over here, so the Shokokans joined the guys over here, and quickly it was very apparent that people were very much joining the Nihons for many regions. And the Kyushans, who had not been taken over in a while or had an invasion on their own territory, finally had an invasion start, and it crippled their entire economy in mere days, as they were being attacked from all fronts imaginable. They weren't ready, they weren't remotely available for this moment to arise. Well, they weren't ready for such an attack, and once it started to kind of reach all of Kyushu, we quickly see that the Kyushan forces just gave up and surrendered. Once that happened, forces of basically everything took control of as much territory as possible, trying to consolidate everything they had. Although Hokkaido started to do some stuff, Hokkaido would be given the spanking of their life, as eventually Hokkaido would be invaded and the capital would be sacked, which would be around here. And once the capital was sacked and the dynasty master, or the master of the dynasty, would be killed, we quickly see that these regions would be just taken over by their respective ruler, that being the Nihons. And eventually a Hokkaidan revolt, known as the Nihon Supportive Revolt, or the Great Nihon Unification Revolt, would spark up, as some forces of Nihon had not stopped at just trying to help themselves to peace. They had actually gone over here and decided that they wanted the full unification of their countries. Eventually, these areas demanded to be let into the Nihon nation, and eventually it was allowed, and Hokkaido just fell. And this time we have our first fully Japanese nation, although these guys don't call them Japanese at this point in time, which is very weird. To be honest, I have never thought of making a true Japan over here, but the idea of one nation being in control over here is very appealing to me. Eventually this island is taken over, even though these guys were kind of occupying some parts of it. We quickly see that this Tokushima is taken over in exchange for this island to be given back to these guys. And eventually a war sparks between the two Koreas, and this will probably end this video here, as I think we're over the 1 hour mark, so well over it, I'm sure of it at this point. But thank you guys for watching this 50 subscriber special. It has been such an honor to make this video for you. You guys are the best, and I'm gonna see you guys next time. Bye bye.